Yesterday, the court proceedings in Netherlands against 4 persons accused of downing the Malaysian passenger airline MH17 came to an end. The Hague-based district court found 3 of the 4 main suspects guilty of murder. This verdict is important since it marks the first time an independent judgment has been made on what happened to the flight. In this video, we bring to you facts around this unfortunate incident of downing of MH17 and the case history. But before that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Oneindia. On July 17, 2014, an MH17 carrier Boeing 777 took off from Amsterdam's Schiphol airport and was scheduled to land in Kuala Lumpur the next day. The plane was cruising at 33,000 feet over Ukraine. It was the early days of Russia's efforts to control Donetsk, a part of Ukrainian territory. At the time, this was a relatively low-level conflict zone, but fighting had recently expanded into the air. In the preceding months also, a number of military planes had been shot down. In response, Ukraine had closed the airspace at lower altitudes, up to 32,000 feet, but planes were still crossing the country. MH17 was flying 1,000 feet above this restricted airspace. At 13:20 GMT, it lost contact with air traffic control after the surface-to-air missile exploded just feet away from the plane's cockpit. All 298 people, 15 crew members and 283 passengers belonging to 17 nationalities on board were killed. During the time, the pro-Russia rebels and Ukrainian forces were locked in a very tense conflict. Ukraine and the West had held Russia and the rebels responsible for shooting the plane down. Investigators had said that the missile that was used came from a Russian military base. Moscow had repeatedly rejected this claim ever since the allegations were made. The victims' bodies and fragments of the plane were scattered over the sunflower fields of eastern Ukraine, a region which 8 years on is once again in spotlight and is a war zone. After the disaster, the 5 countries most affected by it, Australia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Malaysia and Ukraine, formed the so-called Joint Investigation Team. The investigators concluded that the Boeing 777 had been indeed hit by an anti-aircraft missile of the Soviet-era Buk type. This missile was allegedly launched from the part of Donbas controlled by pro-Russian separatists. The Buk missile system had been transported there from Russia and was taken back over the border shortly afterward, according to the JIT investigators. Piecing together clues including intercepted telephone calls, eyewitness accounts and even metal fragments found in the bodies of the crew, investigators were able to establish the type of weapon, track its route and identify key suspects. But then, why has a local Dutch court ruled on this? Should not an international tribunal like the International Court of Justice have ruled on this? That is essentially because when the matter was taken to the UN, Russia had vetoed this proposal. And since 196 of the passengers were Dutch nationals, Netherlands decided to take this up according to its own local criminal laws. 3 of the accused were former Russian intelligence operative and 1 was a Ukrainian separatist. Out of this, 2 Russian and the lone Ukrainian have been handed out life sentences on the charge of murder. None of the 4 were present in the court because they are still at large. So they were tried in absentia, meaning without being physically present in the court. The judgment is unlikely to result in anyone serving time in jail for this mass murder, but the investigation has created an incontestable historical record and delivered the families some peace of mind. In the pursuit of truth, it is important to remember that the process can take very long, but in the end, this long process is important not only for victims of crime, but for our society as a whole. These were all the important information about the verdict. We hope you would like this new video. Thank you for watching.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.